Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
On July 4th, 1962, I found myself in the lost and found of mankind. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that it wants to be there. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that the person who lost it doesn't care for that lost item.
You are writing moments that people will learn from, grow from, and heal through for thousands of years. Together, we are co-authoring a unique moment in time. That DNA, those fingerprints, they're going to be gone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it is your story that they will tell for thousands of years, but only if you leave it. Things that do not serve you must go. The longer you wait, the more time you give them to trick you into serving them. 22 homes in foster care, everything I wore as a scar, as a shame, things that started like Velcro on my spirit. After just a few months, then years, then decades, I had believed myself into believing that they were indelible tattoos. Sometimes we have to be broken down to appreciate the view once we start getting up. I want you to leave this place and know that you have been changed. Why? How do I know it's true? Because each of you has just changed me.
Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul, and honey, I'll show you mine.
Friday. Ooh-wee, TGIF. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. It's the Friday edition. We did it. We're still doing it. We made our way through this week, as we always do. Can I get an amen? How are things shaping up in your neck of the woods for you today? I'm Lauren Michaels Harris, and here we are fulfilling, literally, one of the greatest promises available to us, and that is the one that guarantees that when two or more of us comes together and we've got the same mindset, that heart set, that spirit of service to one another, spiritual magic is the outcome. So can I get an amen? I'm so happy to be here with you. Good morning. Like I said, I see you. You're looking great as always. Welcome to the show. My sidekick, Miss Lucy Ricardo. Oops, sorry. I know she's under contract. Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. Dang. Right? Needy much? Anyway, but I love me some Lucy. She's been here all 6 years. Welcome her. And that's the Bella Purpose. Oh, did I just slip and fall on it? I don't think so. It is called the Bella Purpose because I use it and ring it on purpose and with purpose. Why? It's not just a clever gimmick. It is not absolutely no, a prop. It's an opportunity. Because just like that bell, when it rings, guess what? It has a ring to it. So does the truth. When I ring it, it's because there's some truth out on the table. And we're busy people. We get it. But I don't want you to get so busy that you miss the truth, because it's the only thing in this universe that will never change. And it will never change on us. There we go. So anyway, real quick recap. This time next week, we will, God willing, be on the ground in Bucharest there's our movie poster, the Legacy of Hope tour, where we are going to, and I mean that definitively, not trying to, we are going to bring hope to over 200 kids that are in the various elements of that underworld known as the system in Romania. So we'll be going, you've seen I'll show you something a little later in the broadcast, but we have 6 days of consistent 4 to 5 hours a day with different groups of kids, one-on-one. We're just going to be whatever they want to do, we're going to do. They want to play softball, we're going to play softball. They want to sing songs and dance, we're going to sing songs and dance. But we are there first and foremost to give them our time. But we're taking a lot of great things with us. Thank you to Comfort Cases USA for donating 200 backpacks that we have shopped for over there and are filling with all these things that these kids need as they move around from day to day, from one place to the next. I know it because I lived it. So that's what we're doing. And there is our official t-shirt. You can get yours over at triplenickel.com. I'll put that in the show notes and in your comment section at the conclusion of today's broadcast. This will help continue the work that we're doing to celebrate kids all over the world. So there is also, if you have your device handy, please scan the code. We're still raising funds. We're about $3,000 out, but that's okay. We have raised, thanks to you, right around $10,000, which doesn't translate into much when you figure in all of the taxes for the comfort cases that were donated from one nonprofit to another nonprofit. Found out this morning, $700 they want for us to pick them up. So we're going to do what we have to do because, while kids are going hungry, while kids are eating every other day on an average, 48.7 of the kids in the system over there eat on an average of every other day. Just think about what you did the last time you got hungry. You walked into the kitchen or you reached into a snack drawer, whatever it was. I doubt that you waited another 72 hours or 48 hours or even an hour. When you're hungry, you eat. Imagine if you couldn't do that. And imagine if you were a kid. Right. So there it is. Today, I'm so excited to have my good friend, Frank and I say I because I always forget to say, how is it exactly pronounced, that last name of yours? First of all, I know a lot of people say Lovine because the capital I looks like an L sometimes. I don't know. So Iovine. I know there's a vine in there, or is it a vine? We're going to find out. He's a public speaker, a mindfulness expert, author, life consultant. And what does he say about what he does? How does he put it? Frank says that he's a passionate speaker who uses his decades of experience in community leadership and counseling to help enlighten families and coworkers about the importance
of self-care and mindfulness. Now, he follows the philosophy that life is meant to be lived and not just simply watched. So, becoming aware of simple phrases and behaviors that signal that dark thinking and these are the first steps toward offering help. So Frank will help to teach you techniques in identifying someone who might be in the mindset, in the midst of a troubled time in their life. Been there, done that, still go through it, don't we all? And he wants to help guide us to unlocking the gifts of listening and understanding and offering meaningful assistance at a crucial time. And I don't know about you, but every day I encounter something along that list that I could use some help with. How about you? So, listen, it's been about a year, because I know Frank donated a bunch of his cookbooks to, it's a great cookbook. We're going to talk about that so you can get your hands on it, to the Power of We Symposium of 22, which was in Chicago. So he's back again, but let's treat him like a first timer. And that means we give him the royal treatment. We're going to get to our feet, if you will, by rolling out the red carpet virtually. That's putting hearts on the screen. Please start doing it now. It's free and it's painless, and it's going to be worth it. I promise. Why? Because I know Frank, and here he comes. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Lauren. How are you? How is everything where you are these days?
Not bad. Not bad. I'm here and I'm above ground, so I'm glad about that. And say your last name for us.
It is Iovine, but if you were in Italy, you would say Iovine.
I'll stick with Iovine because I just got it. So I'll work on the literal pronunciation before you come back, I promise. So how have you been since last time here?
I've been good, Lauren. I've been busy, a busy beaver, and you in your introduction you say so many powerful things, and every time I listen, I always pick up on something else, which to me is very important in life. Is sometimes we have to look at things, and even though it might be the same thing, we pick up different things. And one of the things you were talking about, you have the bell of purpose. You're talking about things that don't serve you anymore.
Yeah.
How do you identify those things that don't serve you?
Are you asking me?
What did you do to identify those things?
You're asking me.
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh, I got an answer. Seriously. And it's so easy. Listen, the first clue is this. We refer to things that do not serve us usually with no name. They have no name. We haven't named them. That's why they don't serve us. They're like, they're in our world with a butterfly flight pattern, and we don't have a net. Try going down the street catching a butterfly with your bare hands. Someone's going to call you in to be committed because you have no net. So, like, for instance, here's the example I always use. Let's say Brenda calls you and she goes, "Oh, Frank." And you go, "What's wrong?" "I can tell something's wrong in your voice, Brenda." "Oh, everything." "What do you mean?" "It's just everything. My job." "What about your job?" "Those people." When really it's B&H Plastics, and it's that bitch Sarah in HR. You have to name it in order to know how to process what you need to do to fix it, change it, banish it, whatever. So when things that you just, they're vague, you refer to them through a veil, a lens of vagueness. That's the first footprint of something that does not serve you, because we know the names of things that serve us: love, joy, community, food, sex.
Yeah, all of those things are very important, and what you say is so true. Let's just take those first two, love and joy. So in what I've, in my studies on the way my mind works, I have found that a lot of things that bring love and joy excuse me, either get disguised or they don't come, and we substitute something else. That happens. But one of the key things for me, in my understanding, is it under my control? Can I do something about it? If it's not something I can do something about, why am I even entertaining it up here? What part of myself am I caught up in? So, am I caught up? Now, this leads into the other phrase. Am I caught up into reputation or my character? Very powerful things. And a lot of times, nobody wants to look at them. And what I've been able to develop is a very, very simple system on how that works. And it really is so simple, is to say, do I have control over this matter? Or what is my input into this specific thing? Like using the example that you were just talking about. At work, everything's wrong and everything's having a problem. Well, if the HR person is upset with me, does she have a right to be upset with me? Did I do something? Is there something going on here? Do I want to look it back at me, or do I want to look at what that person is doing? And so, what is in my control? And is it okay for me? Is it okay for me to go up to the HR person and say, okay, it seems that there's a issue. What is it that is going on that I'm not doing correctly? Because ultimately, everything comes back on us. Everything.
Right.
There's no doubt about that.
That's my point, though. If you're going to go in and unpack all that stuff and make it into the office to ask those questions, is there something?
Right.
What? You pissed at me? What I do? Right. You're going to walk right past that office door if you don't acknowledge that the issue is behind that door. It's just another door. You know?
Yep.
Right. So, yeah. Now, interestingly, you use the word joy. Now, for those of you who watch regularly, which should be all of y'all, well, it should be. We had a show Jessica Dugas. I think it was this week, Monday. Yeah. And her brand has the word joy in it. So I was looking for little clips and stuff. And I found it very interesting that every single, Google it. If you don't believe me, Google it. Videos regarding joy. Every single video was only those people that were using the word joy in every video. It was, if it wasn't inside of a religious thing, people don't use the word joy. I was like, what is that? Why is that? So why did you use the word joy?
All right. So to me, the word joy is something that is internal. If I'm joyful, I am joyful internally, and I can actually give that away. If we talk about happiness, happiness is something external that we bring in, like a new car, a new house, a specialty meal, as you were talking in your introduction and going to Romania for, and understanding that some of the children that you're going to speak to are only eating once every 2 days, if I heard you correctly. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
So in understanding that joy, happiness is not going to come, but joy can still come to that person.
Well,
right?
I do. Yes, I agree. But in my world, universe, which all of you are visiting, I'm just saying, in my universe, I feel that joy is an expression of celebration. Like in those songs, again, Christian based, make a joyful noise. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee. It's always surrounding some type of celebration. And so I wish there were more, that it was more common terminology in our everyday language, not just from the pulpit, that, listen, I am joyful because I am celebrating my life right now. right now. So listen, we're gonna take, Frank is an alum of Elevate Masterclass. You guys, you've seen snippets from my Elevate, and I had Stephanie Olson here. You saw some of hers. So Frank is from that family as well, and I've taken the liberty of pulling up a little piece of his work, if you will, from there to share with you. And so let's take a look at that, and then we'll talk about what we've seen here, shall we?
If you're a person of character, you have a good reputation. Sometimes people that have your reputation don't have good character, and it's their reputation that precedes them, and they struggle because there are different aspects of our insides that need to be looked at. And selfishness, self-centeredness, anger, not understanding where other people are coming from. So what we get into is, as we're looking at that other door that's now opened up, and we're looking at a person of discipline. So now the door is opened up. What does discipline mean? Well, for me, it means not passing judgments on people. I can have my opinion, but not passing judgments. And how do we, when we don't pass a judgment, what happens is we can actually hear somebody else's side of the story. We can put ourselves in that person's shoes. We can know where that person is coming from. And if that person's aspects are right, or maybe just that person, that individual has not had the ability to be where you are, hasn't had the experience in life. Now, as we go back, there's one thing, or there are three things that are instilled in us. That's compassion. That's empathy. That's kindness. How often do we lose those in the rush to get what we want, instead of taking the time to understand that everybody, no matter who it is, every once in a while needs a helping hand. The leaders of our world need a helping hand,
You think?
just as much as the man who's sweeping the streets. Everybody needs a hand.
Well, that was an abrupt cut.
That's okay, Lauren. It's the whole thing is so true. How do we get back on track is the question. And one of the things that I found is our ancestors, from the ones that I've studied, all had different ways. You have, the yogis. You have the philosophies of Buddhism. You have the philosophy of Stoicism. You have the religion of Christianity, or Christian religions, and also Islam, and also Judaism. All of these different ways were all ways or means for us to identify excuse me, what is within us that doesn't serve us, that we need to expel, that we need to get out. And for me, the forward thinking, which you mentioned also, is so important. Is that where does this get me to? And if it gets me to a place of tranquility, or of a place of ease and comfort, where no matter where I am, there was one of the books I was reading on Stoicism, and it really rang true to me. You have, the Buddhist monks that are up in the mountains that are meditating for days at a time. Do I want to be able to do that? Yeah, I might want to do that once in a while, but I want to be able to be tranquil and calm and even keel in the middle of Times Square. How do you achieve that? how do you get through that? And part of that is from the same thing. It's finding out what is within your control and what is not within your control. And
I
once
agree.
you can find that out and then accept it, because certain people might sit there and say, well, this isn't in my control, but I'm not going to accept it. I'm going to hold on to it. And a lot of it is that old bus story, Lauren, where it says you can either get on the bus and get off the bus where it stops, or you can get dragged by the bus. And that
Right.
bus is life.
Yeah.
So you can either get on and off and live life with ease and comfort, or you can get dragged by the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And
I want to go back down the block for a minute.
okay.
Where we just walked from. I want to go back to that slab of the sidewalk because you used it in your piece, the clip we just saw from your masterclass, when you used it before we went to the clip. And I speak to the word reputation. So reputation, let's just circle around that one because that one's a tough one because you have control of a certain aspect of your reputation, but then it depends on where your reputation lives or is being bred. If you're in the public eye, as opposed to just someone who raises a family and you come home and go back in and out, and it's like, it's different because your reputation is like a footprint. And sometimes that's why we have infamous versus famous. So let's just talk about reputation because a lot of good people have gotten bad reputations simply because that's what they put in. That's what's in the press. That's because things that do not serve are trying to get in the way of the good work. But then again, you have people who you think, let's take Bill Cosby. I'm just saying, the face of Jello pudding, Cliff Huxtable, and then boom, out of nowhere, some truth comes out that changes that reputation. OJ, on and on and on. We have tons of examples in both directions.
Yeah. No.
Look, when they said Lucille Ball was a communist, this, that, and the other. So, because reputation, let's go here. Reputation can be affected by rumor, innuendo, falsehoods, but it can also be built on good works, service, and all those things that are principles, which we cannot break, but can be broken against. So how do we look at this word, this job, this piece from a place of do I control, can I control or not?
So a lot of that from what I've experienced and seen is humility. If we don't have humility and if we go the other way, as we were talking about negative things that don't serve us, selfishness, selflessness versus selflessness, there becomes a reoccurring theme that you start to end up building your reputation because of things that bring you happiness that don't bring you joy.
Right.
So reputation is difficult to begin with. But if you're a person there's actually a Buddhist a saying that says if you have the choice between being kind and being right, be kind and you'll always be right.
Love it.
So,
but see, that's right there. People, what about people being afraid of being wrong? Fear of what others will think.
And well, now you brought in that 4-letter word that controls us all, which is fear.
Right. I don't want my reputation on the line.
Right.
It's got to be on the line, or it's on neither side. I mean, it can't be on the line.
Right.
You don't want it on the line. You want it on. You got to choose a side.
You're either on this side or you're on that side. And there we go with that word fear. So why do people try to build up their reputation instead of their character? Because if they build up their reputation instead of their character, their reputation, they fall into the fear of either losing what they have, not getting what they want, or being found out. Those three fears will attach itself to almost every negative behavior or negative emotion.
Did you see what people were saying? Did you see some of those?
No.
This Facebook user says, character, who are you, Facebook user? Tell me your name. You're watching from some other platform. Character protects your reputation. Reputation is who people think you are. Character is who you are. I love that.
Correct.
And then Robert Brooker says, if you don't care about your rep, and I don't, because I have no control of what others think of me, I know who I am. And let me tell you, I am a character. So we have the word character coming from all over the place and being used in different ways. But so what say you, Frank, to what the viewers have just said?
They're saying 100%. They are 100%. You have no control over you think you have control over your reputation. And the more you try to control it, the more it'll end up spinning out of control. There's a saying or a belief in most, I'm going to say all, but I'm just going to go with most 12-step programs that says if you have to try and control something, you're already out of control.
Yep. I believe that.
And controlling your reputation comes back to something else that you said in your introduction. Action. What are your actions? What are you actually doing? Because if you're doing something for the wrong reason, if you have a good deed sandwiched or disguised under a bad deed, sooner or later, that bad deed will come out.
Of course. And it should.
And it should. It could take 10, 15, 20 years, but it will sooner or later, it will surface itself. And as it surfaces itself, you will try and control it more and more and more and more.
I agree. I had a question that slipped my mind. It better come back. Let's circle around to the other piece you mentioned, opinion versus judgment. And I want to say this because a lot of what we're talking about here, I remember what it was. Let's go back. Okay, here it is too. A lot of things we don't have control over are based on programs that were imposed on us. For instance, reputation. One of the programs in my culture, the African American culture, and probably others, but some of you will most likely resonate with this, is when we're growing up and there's some shit going on in the household. What do you hear? Don't go out running your mouth about what goes on in this house. What goes on in this house stays in this house. Why? Because reputation. Just like the saying,
Correct.
Keeping up with the Joneses. Reputation. What it looks like, which has nothing to do with the reality in many cases, as far as what it truly is.
Correct. And then what we do is to go into opinions and judgments. When you make a judgment on somebody, it's like filling it in with concrete.
Hi, Andy. Sorry. That's the Facebook user, Andy Williams.
Oh, okay. So, opinions and judgment block us from seeing the truth. As soon as I attach an opinion to anything or a judgment even more, I shut myself off from seeing the truth and seeing things for what they truly are.
So which is more important to you, Frank? Reputation or reality?
Me, it's character. 100%. It is.
But you didn't answer.
I'm sorry. Maybe I misunderstood.
Which is more important to you? Reputation or reality?
Reality.
Okay. Because, well, first of all, character wasn't one of the choices, but a person might say character, but is that your reality? Or is it something you're saying to not, taint your reputation. You see what I mean? Right.
No, 100%. So reality, because reality goes back to what we were talking about earlier, action. What actions are you taking, or what actions are you not taking? Because sometimes your judgment or your behavior or your opinion can stop you from doing the next right thing, which is just as egregious as doing something wrong.
This could go. We could just keep peeling this.
Oh, you could peel this.
I know.
This has so many layers, you'll never get to the center.
You'll never get to the center, because I was just going, okay, let's take what we just said. Well, then there's our reality versus the perspective of others as far as what they perceive our reality to be.
Correct.
They're rich.
Correct. And so now you're relying. So now that person is relying on what they said. And just like you said, they think you're rich. They think this, they think that. But nobody knows how much internal struggle somebody has. Nobody understands what's going on in somebody's mind. That one man's floor is another man's ceiling.
Oh, that's a good one. So, Frank, based on everything we've talked about here today, tell us again. Now let's go back. Let's double back to the work you do.
Right.
And so, who are the people that find their way to what you do for them? Why do they come? What prompts them to seek what you have?
Well, one of the main things is that I give people, men, women, non-binary, doesn't make a difference to me, the ability and the techniques from our ancestors to see things for what they truly are. So what I like to do is in a conversation like we're having right now, I find out what you gravitate to. Then we work on finding that axiom to suit you, whether if it's Stoicism, Buddhism, any of the religions that might help you. The question is what can help you? One of the things that I found in all of my very brief studies on all these different modalities of thinking and understanding life is that they all bring everybody to the same point, which is joy. How to live a joyful life, how to be joyful in everything that's going on. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to give people different examples and techniques for them to find their path. Once they find a path that works, then it's on to, all right, what do we actually have to do on your path to get you going to where you're going? This way you drive the car and you sit back and you just relax. And you're on the bus of life, and you get on and off, and you're not being dragged anymore. As I said, that might look like Stoicism to certain people. Certain people, it might look like Buddhism. Certain people, it might look like meditation. Certain people, it might look, which is something that you're involved in, which is actually giving of yourself to a cause. Whether it be going to a soup kitchen, whether it be feeding the homeless, or going to the food pantry, which a lot of people in the United States are finding themselves more and more having to do.
How do you feel about that? I wrote this down while you were talking. I kind of feel like a person, well, let me use myself, that I need to understand what it is I need to become the best version of myself today, because I try to stay in today. I'm not one to try to, I set goals, but I set them and I forget about them. I come back to the front end and I start looking for things to practice that will drive me to what I laid out, I put down there as a goal. So I find I need to understand what I need, not what I want, but what I need in order for me to provide from my side of the table what others need. Because I think a lot of us think we get to a certain point, and I'm just going to keep it real. That's the thing I cannot stand about a lot of motivational speakers. You very seldom you hear the same story over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and it's like, they're peddling day old bread instead of, because I believe that the biggest truths are the ones we find in the day we are currently living.
And so let's just take that. Let's just take that for a minute. Why do you think that happens? Do you think that happens because they have good reality or good character, or they're trying to keep their reputation going?
They're trying to, right. They're peddling day old bread. It's, look, that thing I did 28 years ago is still just as shiny. And right. Because, I just, in one of my speaker reels, it was in, what's that place down there? Missouri, St. Louis. And I was like, people in corporate, don't build your career on things you did years ago. Build your career on things you did moments ago. Give the world your freshest. But that means that people need to be willing to be vulnerable, transparent, to say that, you know what, I screwed up yesterday, but today I'm cleaning up. I'm on cleanup. Spill.
I'm on cleanup from my mess yesterday, and then I'll move on.
And then I'll move on. But people don't want people to know they can drop stuff, that they can spill stuff.
Correct. Let's look at athletes for a minute, and let's look at how somebody starts out and then they get up to be in the top 10% where they're professional athletes, right? One of the main things that they have to do is they practice, and they're constantly striving to make new advances. Now, those new advances sometimes might mean that they fall and they skin their knees. If there's a saying in a lot of athletes or in that type of, in the sports world, that if you're not pushing yourself, you're not falling. So I'm an avid skier. So when I go out and I go for instructions and I'm trying a new technique or I'm trying something different, I am going to fall. If you're not falling, you're not trying. If you're not stumbling, you're not trying to embrace something that you can then bring in. And then that gives the hope to other people that can look at you and say, wow, he just made a mistake and he just corrected himself,
right,
and everything is okay. So you know what? I'm going to push myself forward, because as one of the listeners said, I am not in control of what other people think about me. As soon as I think I'm in control of that, I'm out of control. And I will lose everything trying to maintain that one atmosphere.
Well, a lot of people, I'm going to use Matt Lauer as an example. Matt Lauer was like the boy next door. And then overnight, that scandal surfaced. He didn't really defend himself, or not that I know of. I don't remember. But then he disappeared. I haven't heard his name or seen him since.
Right.
Right. And so that takes me back to the reputation piece. Why is it people go to it's always, he ruined his reputation. Why isn't it possible? There's no in between. It's like rich and poor and no in between. Why can't it be ruined versus stained? And I had an addiction, me personally, for 14 years. I didn't ruin my reputation because I didn't have one. I stained it. But there are stain removers. Healing is one. Understanding of your purpose is another. So let's talk about that. Stain removers.
Here's something more that is exactly what you're talking about. I just did a interview with a gentleman named Doug Haynes from Colorado. He is doing a documentary film on PTSD in first responders. So that's the ambulance,
Sure.
fire department, police department, anybody that's a first responder, and how if you go to your hierarchy within your job, no matter where you are, and you say, you know what, I saw the death of a child and it's really affecting me. I need a couple of days off. I need a week off, and I'd like to go speak to somebody to get this stain out of my mind. They can't do that. For them for it to be thought that you're having some type of, I'll use the word mental health crisis, you're automatically stained and actually ruined your reputation. And that's one of the main problems with first responders. They get burnt out. And once they get burnt out, they end up not being able to make the correct judgment calls on certain situations, whether if it's the fire department or ambulance or police.
Right.
And one of the main things is why is it that other people automatically judge? And then now we go back to that 4-letter word, fear, because the hierarchy fears that there will be repercussions somehow, some way, if they don't totally tie this person up in a system that all they want to do is get well. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, or do you follow what I'm saying?
I do, but now I want to throw another piece in.
Go ahead.
I wrote it down. I'm like, because things go running across my yard so fast, I gotta catch them. Status versus reputation.
Right.
Because, if pride goeth before the fall.
Yeah.
That's a different thing than reputation. We can't do some, you know what I'm saying? If a person is ego-based and they feel like there are people that have taken their own lives because of a vicious rumor. It wasn't even real. And
Correct.
they did not know that they had or could not. To face it down. They just let the light, they let the darkness, they let the thing that did not serve them win.
And that is happening more and more in our adolescent and
that's where I'm headed with it.
Yeah.
Because I got the word status, honestly, from a kid who dropped out of a race for vice president, and I've been working with him. I was coaching him. He's 13 years old. And I was like, why did you drop out? You got the posters. Your slogans are great. You really want to change these things in your school. And he said, because if I lose, it's going to affect and lower my status in school. He's in 8th grade. And I'm like, because there's a hierarchy. So with our kids, and think about it, let's go even deeper. Kids who have literally killed themselves because of TikTok. Because her friend across the street got so many hundreds of thousands of likes and she didn't.
Correct. And that all deals with reputation, or the word status. Where is my status? And now where?
Do you remember as a kid anyone ever talking to you about reputation?
No.
Me either.
No.
It's almost like doctors not getting nutrition classes, but
Correct.
they're doctors. How can we as adults, when everything is based on, I put that reputation status thing right by the same reason most people have a mirror right inside the front door somewhere. So before they leave, they can do that last little
check.
Yeah. Because why? Because I'm about to walk out there and get judged. Let me make sure I don't help them find anything wrong by leaving it right out there, like, you know, something in my teeth or something.
Well, Lauren, one of the things which it took me a long time, and I'm still learning how to do this, is how to love yourself. That's that's a lost art. Being okay with yourself, not being conceited, not being, full of ego, but understanding that every day you do the best that you can, and you know that what you're doing is the best that you can.
Yeah.
And one of the things which is baffling to me is the ability, the lack, and the adolescence of the world have this problem. Nobody is teaching them how to love themselves.
How do we change that?
I think it's by teaching them how to do good deeds. You remember, but now I know we're both from the same era, so I know you. But do you remember how certain groups used to wait to cross elderly people across the street?
I think those were Boy Scouts.
Correct. But also the Girl Scouts used to do it too.
Wow.
Okay. So what happened to that, to that being passed down, that these are things that we should be doing, that
I agree,
build our self-esteem
and build a mindset of service.
Correct.
To others. Everything gets better when you, for your own personal journey, when you do something outside of yourself for someone else. When I am at my worst, that's, even if it's just sending someone good morning, I hope you have a great day, and it may be the most difficult thing in the moment, but I need to change the air in the tank. I need to get out of my own way. And that's why I feel too, Frank, it's important. I always try to look for, with strangers, I love this in grocery stores, walking in, before I go to the first thing on my list, and I used to do this a lot, I need to start doing it more. I would look for, just look around in the produce department, because that's the first thing you see in my store. Someone that I could go up and just give it an arbitrary act of kindness, encouragement to, a compliment. But then again, most of us, 96% of the population cannot accept a compliment. Oh, Frank, I love that shirt. This whole thing. What'd you do with your hair? It looks great. Oh, I couldn't do a thing with it today. That sort of a thing. So some of it too is that we have to learn to accept and believe.
So here's something that I tell my clients to do, depending on where they are, what we're talking about. Most of us use drive-through these days, whether if it's Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks. I usually use those because the cost matter is a little bit better on this one. When you go through the drive-through, I'll tell one of my clients, the next time you go through the drive-through, what I want you to do, if there's somebody behind you, I want you to tell the person you're going to pay for the person's meal behind you, and then pull out. Now that person comes up to the window expecting that they have to pay their $6.35 for their coffee and their donut, and the person says, "No, the person in front of you paid for that." That makes the person behind you feel good. They might have been having a shitty day, right? And now you just changed their whole day,
just like that. Now, piece of advice, though,
kindness.
If you're in the drive-thru and you at least look in your rearview mirror and make sure it's not a van with a softball team.
Fair enough. I would agree.
Okay, just make sure that, because but I do it. I've done it at the toll road. Pay the toll for the car behind me, and it's interesting because many of them will try to catch up to you, blinking their lights or honking their horn just to give you a thumbs up because.
Right. So it changes those emotions that we have inside, and it changes those things that are within us.
Right.
It creates a different feeling, and you then once you start to feel that feeling you can grow.
That's a great point. And it's a great point to wrap up today. Man, that flew by. I told you. It's gonna be, you're supposed to be gone 2 minutes ago because of your call. Yeah, see, gotcha. So listen, you guys, sneaking across the bottom of your screen is Frank's website. Frankie is speaker.com. Head over. I have already dropped it inside the comment section for easy access at the conclusion here, which is now. Get over and check out all things Frank IOVINE, right?
There you go.
Right. And where can they find your masterclass?
They can find it on elevate.ac. They can find my masterclass, or they can go through my website. And my website, there's a link to elevate.ac. And then the other thing, which we didn't get to speak about, is the cookbook. So the cookbook, which I have out there, which is Meals and Memories with No, which is where I've learned a lot of my mindfulness was from my grandfather. And then also one of the other reasons why I got to jump off so early is because I now have a restaurant called Piatto down in Long Island City in New York. So Lauren,
New York,
please.
I thought you lived and were born and raised in Tennessee. I'm kidding. New York. Okay, listen, Frank, we got to come back then. Maybe we'll go live from the restaurant next time.
We can do that. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Live from the restaurant.
There you go. And get over it. I have the cookbook, and let me tell you, it is wonderful. Just chock full of stories, recipes, and stories from the recipes. Create your own, right? Frank IOVINE, thank you so much for today and every day.
Lauren. Be good.
Bye. Thank you, Frank. And thank you guys for being here today. Frank had to run. Listen, Monday, I've got a really exciting show. I was going to do a rerun because we leave next week for Romania, but I'm bringing Jason Cisneros in. I'll tell you why. We were a part of a thread of another person's on Facebook, and it got really. And so we're going to talk about how to have the conversation in a battered and splintered world. How do you do that without relinquishing everything to AI? Because AI does not have a soul. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be deep. We're going to dive deep come Monday. Jason Cisneros is in the house. Mark your calendars now. In the meantime, get out. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful everything. Listen, get out and be the very best version of yourself. Bring it back here Monday. I'll do my best, God willing, to meet you out front on the front porch, where together we create another illuminated moment in time, a divine moment in time. And as in parting, I always say to you, don't forget how much I love you. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Bye. I'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How explicit do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Oh, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.